Hello, and welcome to Artinject Conversations brought to you by Studio Artinject. Artinject Conversations is intended to break the fourth wall and bring you into the virtual room where two creatives talk about being an artist, running a creative business, and everything in between. Through the artist interview series, I hope to highlight the different ways of being an artist and the multitude of creative entrepreneurial journeys. I am Shimona Ghosh, your host, artist, and founder of Studio Artinject. I create watercolor paintings on paper and stoneware ceramic home decor. I also teach online watercolor art classes and offer one-on-one heartstorming sessions for artists and creative entrepreneurs. So without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome to Artinject Conversations. For the very first episode of the artist interview series, we have a very special guest, my first artist friend in this online community of artists, Roxi Giuliano. Welcome, Roxi. I'm so happy to start this series with you as my first guest. Okay, so for those of you who don't know about Roxi, let me quickly introduce her to you. Roxi is a mandala artist living in Los Angeles, USA, with her second home in Nepal, from where she is joining us today. She creates conceptual mandala artworks inspired by life experiences and deep connections between us all, and highlights our journeys through life and how they interact. Roxy started making mandalas in 2017 during a period of intense healing. Creating mandalas acted as a refuge and a tool to process her journey ever since. She launched the Mandalas of the Path in March 2020, through which she offers original works of art, commissioned artworks, art prints, and products such as t-shirt, phone cases, mugs, and such, with her artwork printed on them. She wants her art to make people feel happy, understood, and at peace. Is there anything you would like to add to that?
That's perfect. That's me.
Okay, so to start with the first question, can you trace your journey from how you got started with your art practice and how it transitioned into a business?
Yes. All right. So I was creating art since early childhood. I always loved art. It was kind of my happy place because I struggled with social and athletic things. It was just art was always the thing that felt safe and enjoyable for me. So I was always creating. And then I started making mandalas, in 2017. And that was really just for kind of a new method of meditation and finding a way to heal and process from something that was kind of too intense for just my mind to go through. And I think that I had no intention of sharing my art at that time. Like maybe for 2.5 years, the mandalas I created, I really genuinely did not share with anyone, and I did not think that I would. But it was in Nepal at the end of 2019 when I was creating mandalas at a monastery where I was living with a community of Westerners. And they saw my art and they were really inspired by it, actually. And I could see that they were really affected and they really benefited from seeing the imagery and seeing the messages in my art. So they asked me, where can we find you? Where can we find your art? And that was kind of an aha moment, like, oh, I think I could be beneficial in the world by sharing this. And so that was what prompted me to make my website. And after I left the monastery, I really dove into becoming a public artist and having a space to share my art. And by March of 2020, I launched my website, Mandalas of the Path, and social media to go with it. And the pandemic hit a few weeks after that. So it actually was kind of great timing in the sense that I felt like, I can settle into this as my full-time thing right now. I don't have to try to figure out where I want to go in the world or what career I want to. It was like, I can focus on what I want to do right now. And I'm being really called to be an artist. And so that was a really beautiful thing for about a year, 14 months or so. I was just completely dedicated to being an artist full time. It was wonderful. It was one of the best times in my life, I think. And I had to go back to the US after that. And so it kind of brought a transition, but I still create and I still really enjoy sharing my art. It's just kind of changed how it looks now, but meaning the sharing and the art. But I think it's an evolution that grows with us. Like everything we create comes from where we are in that moment. So it'll keep growing with me. And that's really fun to watch. Yeah.
I think what's really special about how you transitioned into your art business is that it came from a place of it can help people, not from a place of, okay, how can I make something out of this? How can I make this into a business and how can I monetize it? But it came more from a place of it is helping people heal in some way or the other. And I think that is very special. I don't see a lot of people doing like thinking that way, which is very generous. So I like that. Okay.
Thank you. That means a lot.
You mean a lot to the artist community because I've told you this before and I'm going to say it now because like the audience doesn't know, but I have never been a huge fan of mandalas in general, like mandala art. But the way you created is really special because it's I can almost see that your heart went into it, which makes it special. Like it's not like every other mandala I see out there, which is nice. I get it. Like people create it because it's a very healing process to create mandalas. But yeah, like I really like how you approach them. It's very different.
Thank you. I remember when you told me that, I felt so inspired because I actually had felt insecure about like, oh, my mandalas don't look like everyone else's. Like I got it. My original inspiration for making mandalas was an artist I saw on Instagram. Her handle is 4100 and she creates more kind of traditional mandalas with just repeating patterns that go forever, and they're gorgeous. And that was kind of what I started doing. But I really like using art to process things that are really happening. I like to get inspired by like, oh, I want to put like an eclipse at the center. I want to put a Buddha at the center, and I want to show the path of enlightenment in the mind. And these ideas became a big part of the mandalas that I created, but I was insecure thinking this isn't how it's supposed to be because others weren't like that. But to any artist out there thinking there's a supposed to be, no, no. It's what you create. It's more meaningful if it's different because that means that it came from you. So don't just try to fit into a mold because you think that other people want to see that. Because my mandalas were not very popular when I would hashtag mandala. It would be like the traditional type of like repeating designs that would be popular. So I didn't think that it was a good thing that mine were different, but you actually were one of the people a couple years ago now who told me that you liked mine better. And it was like, oh, okay, so this is not bad. Yeah, so thank you for that. You actually encouraged me a lot by telling me that a long time ago.
I'm glad I could help. Okay, so a lot of artists who are at the beginning of their journey feel this dissatisfaction about the limitations they experience in their studio setup. That, oh, I have this really tiny table, I don't have this full-fledged studio where I can spread out, have my easel set up, or whatever their dream studio is. And
Yeah.
what is really interesting is that you started your journey at a point where you were traveling. So your studio was wherever you were at. and you didn't have this like dream studio where you could return to every day. Like it did change every few weeks, how your studio looked like changed. So can you share how you navigated the challenges of not having a permanent studio, so to say, and creating in spaces which are not akin to an artist studio?
Yes, this is really important, I think, because that can become such an obstacle to people's art practice, like thinking I can only do it if I have this, this, and this. For about a year or something, I was creating without even a desk or a table. I didn't even have that, especially during like the beginning of the pandemic. I was living in a tiny room that only had a bed. It had no other furniture in it. It didn't even have floor space really. And so I was creating just sitting on my bed, like cross-legged on my bed. That was my creation space. Occasionally when lockdown kind of eased up, I would be able to go walk by the lake and maybe sit on a bench and create looking at the mountains or something. But that was really like in my lap. Sometimes I could go to a cafe and maybe there would be a table there, but it really was a portable, like wherever I could create, that would be how it happened. And I actually had the experience of when I went back to the US eventually and I had a really nice creation space, that was a time that I kind of was less inspired to create and I didn't create as much. So it's really important to realize you can create wherever you are and be flexible about it, because it's really in your mind that it's not possible to create in other places. And I mean, if your medium is clay or something, like that's different. You probably do need a more specific type of place to do that. But there's so many different ways to create. So I always loved just having like drawing pad, and I had like a little I still have it actually. I have like a little box that's like tin metal box. I think it's for children's math tools. And it has like just space enough for like a compass, a little protractor. Wait.
Yeah, the geometry box that's available. I don't know if it's available in the US. I recognize it because
Yeah.
it's widely available in India. So that's how I know.
Yeah, exactly. I got it from Nepal. It has a picture of Nepal on it. And it has, yeah, the little geometry set. And I could also put in like a couple of nicer art pens. I was able to find a couple nicer pencils that wouldn't smudge. Yeah, I wasn't really able to get that many nice supplies, but I did find the bare bones of what would work. And I think it was a really fun aspect of the creativity to try to find places. I'm remembering sitting like in a field, like when I needed to do like making the circles, like very specific line work and things. It would be like find the flattest place in the field to like lay it down and do that. And that was a part of the creativity. That was a part of the process. And if there would be a mistake in it, it would be like, oh, that's because I was in a field. That was nice. Like it's part of it then. So yeah, I would say really don't let the space itself become an obstacle, because that could prevent you from creating something really amazing that would really connect with people. So yeah, it was great. It was a great practice to be traveling. When I finally moved to the village, like full time with my partner, he actually had a desk here, and I went to like a fancy supermarket a few hours away and found a desk lamp. And it was so exciting. Like, wow, a desk lamp. And so I could create something like on a desk with a desk lamp. That was super exciting. And then I felt extra grateful for even having that. So the less you have, the more you're grateful for, I think. And when I ended up having access to a really lovely desk and a space with a what's it called, like a mount for my phone that I could film, there was all these like wonderful tools I had there. I could have my art supplies out all the time. but I noticed that didn't inspire me any more or less to create. It was the internal inspiration that drove it. So I think that's important to remember. It's wonderful to have a space like that, but it's also wonderful not to, because it adds to the creativity. Yeah.
It does. Limitations makes us more creative. And like you said, like with the clay setup, I myself struggled with it. So I have my bedroom and that is my studio. So it is limited space. So when I was thinking about setting up the clay studio, like my watercolor setup is just like this one desk and that's enough. But for the clay stuff, I needed a wheel and a table to wedge and everything. And I just kept thinking about it, and I told my teachers, I don't know, I don't have the space. Where will I set it up? Like, I don't have enough space. And my teacher gave me an example of a student who had limited space, so they put their wheel in the washroom. That's how dedicated they were. They were, because they didn't want to make a mess anywhere else in the room. They didn't have any other space in the house. So they set it up in the washroom. And that got me thinking, you know what, if they can do that, I can find a tiny corner in my room to put a wheel in. And yeah, it's very helpful to think like that, that our creativity is first and foremost and the space is secondary. It does help, but it always comes secondary to our own creative process. So yeah, that's
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to throw in, if anyone out there is creating sitting cross-legged on a bed, please take breaks and stretch, okay? Like, I did not do that. When I would work in cafes, even people would notice that for maybe 3 hours, I would not move a muscle. I would just be sitting there drawing. And they would be like, your eyes are going to get messed up. Your back is going to get messed up. And they were right about my back. So I really recommend take breaks. It helps your eyes a lot to take a break. It helps your body to take a break. So try to stretch and move, and, you know, don't let the space be an obstacle, but also realize that you are a human body and you need to take care of your human body as well. There you go.
yeah. And it is our bodies which is creating the art. Like, it's the vehicle to create the art. So it's important to take care of our bodies in that respect also. That's true. Okay, so a lot of artists who are thinking of selling their art, they worry a lot about which art supplies to buy. I am one of them. Like, I will go into maximum research mode, going into, okay, which pigments are light fast, which are not, and which are professional grade, which are archival, and like all of these things that we think about with respect to buying art supplies, uh, with the hope that it will last for a very long time. And to artists who worry about that and who are kind of letting that get in the way of their creative process, what do you have to say about it? Because I feel like this discussion is so important, that this hyper focus on creating with professional art supplies, so to say, and even when it comes to selling, and we have talked about this earlier at some point, that when we are selling, we will raise the price if it's made with archival quality supplies. And if it's not, why is it not as valuable? Why does that art piece need to last hundreds of years? Like, somebody gets to enjoy it for their lifetime. Why is that not enough? So, what are your thoughts on somewhat of an obsession that professional artists have with archival art supplies in the context of our impermanence as humans?
Yeah, I agree. This is really important. I think that this can become a really huge hindrance to creation for many reasons. But first, I wanted to say the main things that I was creating with when I was living in Nepal long term. I was living here for 18 months at one point. So during that time, at first I was just creating using a random black pen I got in Thailand and colored pencils. That was the first generation of mandalas I created here. And then I found glitter pens, which are meant for children here, but I loved creating with glitter pens. You can actually make some really elevated looking things with supplies you wouldn't really expect. Nothing archival was available here. The paper I was using was not the, gorgeous, expensive paper that I had access to later when I moved back to the US. But I think that we are all impermanent. Everything is impermanent. Everything is going to change. And embracing that part of the artwork too can be a really beautiful practice. So actually, a lot of the art that I created that I love the most was not created on archival things with expensive materials. And it has, you know, if you look at the color of the paper, it's a little bit more yellowed now than it was before. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's actually kind of like, it shows that it's aged, it has character. I was living in a really humid place with no access to air conditioning or anything like that. So the art pieces were not very protected for some time, some of them. And that's really okay. I also would not decrease the price just because it's not on the fancy material, but I might mention in the listing that it's not made with archival materials, just so I don't have a customer who's upset about that. But still, most of the pieces that I made on very normal, not expensive materials, they still look gorgeous to this day. And I'm guessing probably they're not going to fall apart anytime soon. That being said, I would definitely encourage, after you create your art, if you do create on like less expensive materials, be careful how you store it. I think that was one thing I didn't really know. If I just like left them in the paper pad and like kept it under the bed, it wasn't the best way of storing those things. So if I could go back and change it, I might just wrap it all in plastic or something. But I really would hope that people, especially who either don't have access to those types of expensive supplies for money reasons or geography reasons where you live, I don't want that to prevent anyone from creating. It really does not matter as much as people make it out to it doesn't matter as much as people think, I think. And I have found even it can be a roadblock in my mind to create with expensive things because I think it needs to be perfect. And if I mess it up, think how much that paper costs, think how much that pen costs. I don't want to, and then I don't create because the materials are archival. That's kind of crazy. Like that's just, I think it's good to care about what you're creating with, of course, but it's also good to make sure that that's not preventing you from creating and knowing that it's okay if things change. I wanted to throw in a little quick story about something that recently happened. Our friend has a restaurant in town here in Nepal, and he has two of my art pieces up in his restaurant, like framed. And I love those art pieces so much. They really make me happy to see them in there. A lot of people, I think, have had joy from seeing those. And recently there was a big storm and kind of a flood. And the next day we went to the restaurant and I saw that one of those mandalas had like inside the frame, like the frame had kind of collapsed in a little bit, letting water and black soot go into the frame. And so now the mandala has like all this black stuff in front of it, like sludge. It's all messed up. And I saw that and I was just laughing kind of. And I think they were really scared for me to see that and be like heartbroken. But I was laughing and it was like, everything changes. Human bodies change, places change, things change. And I just thought, that's all right. The flood took that one. And I felt like part of the process of being an artist is reducing that attachment to your creations and realizing it's going to change. Like one clay piece I worked on really hard. I loved it so much. It came out of the kiln with a huge crack down the whole thing. And it was like, and my artist friend, he was like, okay, we just have to put glaze in it and it'll seal the crack. It made the crack worse. And that was a really helpful lesson for me in being like, nope, I don't have control over anything here. I can just put my love into it and not attach to the outcome. And for that art piece in my friend's restaurant, I I can practice love and non-attachment for that too. The other one's still fine, but who knows in the next storm. But yeah, I think it's a wonderful thing to remember. Our bodies are going to change, but we should continue loving them. Our art pieces are going to change, but we should continue loving them. Impermanence makes things beautiful, and just because your painting won't be perfect for 300 years does not mean that it's not wonderful. You know, it's really important to realize that, I think. Yeah.
I think nothing teaches detachment like working with clay. You just, I mean, it's so heartbreaking at first. And now, I mean, I've noticed like I keep practicing and I almost always break most of the pieces because, of course, I'm not going to keep everything that I'm making, right? And my parents
Right.
come and they get so upset. They're like, but this is so nice. Why are you breaking it? And I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's a part of the practice. And it's wonderful how it has really changed my perspective. And when I talk to other artists, I see that attachment even comes into when we are trying to sell, right? That, oh, somebody's not buying it, and then making it mean something about us when it's just about like it's just facts. It's just that okay, it was not their taste, therefore they didn't buy it. Like it doesn't mean anything about us as artists, right? And
Right.
honestly, working with clay has really helped me kind of really feel into that feeling that this means nothing about me. Like if my art is not selling, it means nothing about me.
Yes. And actually this I love because my artist friend teaches children. He teaches like elementary school art. And always when they're working with clay and they start to get upset, he goes, "It's just dirt. It's just dirt, you guys. It's just dirt and water. Like, not a big deal. It's just dirt." And I feel like that about paper too. I'm like, oh, this is just tree matter with pigment on it.
Yeah.
Like we put all that feeling and attachment into it, but it's not it's not a big deal. Nobody's dying if your clay piece breaks. And yeah, my parents actually have said similar things about they're like, but that piece was so nice and why? And it's like it's okay. This is part of the process. And I feel like it's sweet that they're attached to it because they think it's beautiful. But yeah, it's so important also to realize about whether people purchase your art or not, or whether you post something and it gets a lot of likes or not. It does not change that it has value because you created it. It has value because there is meaning in it from your creation. And regarding not being able to access archival materials, actually, at the time that I was creating a lot of mandalas using kind of like children's supplies from random stationery shops here in Nepal, I was mainly creating with the intention of using photos of the artwork to create printed goods. And so what mattered most was how the artwork looked the moment I created it. And then once it was finished, I would take a photo of it and use that photo to make printed t-shirts and mugs and phone cases and things. Because I actually wasn't in a place with mail anyway, I couldn't sell the originals. And so that helped reduce my attachment to expensive supplies because it didn't matter if the original lived long. It was more like, yeah, the picture of it could live in many different forms and be printed on t-shirts and all kinds of things. So yeah, I have a t-shirt right here. I'm gonna grab it to show as an example. It's very wrinkly right now, but that's all right. I think you can still see the art piece.
I really like this piece.
I love this one. It's called Shanti, which means peace. And this piece actually, I think the original is still sitting somewhere in a drawer in my bedroom at home in the US. But this piece has become really widespread in terms of being on many mugs and t-shirts and phone cases and things. Like, it has become alive in many more forms than just the original. So remember that thinking that just the original can be sold is also a limitation that you can remove and be flexible and creative about, because you know, creativity is the name of the game here. So don't limit yourself just based on one idea of how your art business should look. You can really create something more and something more meaningful by being flexible about it. So yeah, there you go. Love that one. Dear to my heart. It was right after I visited the birthplace of Buddha, and I was just feeling like very grounded in this like meditator image, this peace. And I just really wanted to convey that through art, and good times. Anyway, yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to say, I guess.
Okay, so do you mind sharing with our audience what is one mindset block which you have personally overcome and believe has been a game changer for your art practice?
I think what's coming up is the mindset of rigidity in thinking that there's only one way to create, because I really fell in love with this format of creating in circles, in mandala format. Exactly. It was kind of preventing me from exploring other types of creation. And I still love my mandalas, of course, but it's so healthy and wonderful to explore other mediums and other, like, just, yeah, we were talking earlier about sketchbook practice, like just sketching something just for fun, just for exploring. And you don't have to think, I'm going to sell everything I create and I need to make everything. Oh yeah, I had a feeling for a while like everything I create needs to be shared publicly, so I have to be really proud of everything I create. And maybe that was pressured by this feeling of, oh, my social media audience is expecting something every so often, and I need to keep up with that, and I don't want to waste my time creating something that's not good for public sharing. And it's not a waste of time to create things for fun. It's so not. That rigidity and that feeling, it really probably prevented me from a lot of exploring and kind of adventuring within my art practice. So I think now I don't feel that rigidity. Now when I'm creating something, I kind of just feel out in the moment. Do I just want to draw right now? Do I just want to mess around with clay? Do I want to try making a sculpture? Do I want to make a circle? Do I want to make whatever it is? Like, you can, creativity is so limitless. It's, the limits are only within your mind. So still, my love, of course, is making my mandalas in circles, but just trying something. Actually, the other day, like, now it's faded, but this was like a mandala for a holiday that was recently here. And it's so hot and humid that things don't last. Impermanence, don't attach to it. But a couple days ago, I was just messing around and I just created this like weird, funky, I don't even know what's happening here. And it was so fun, though. It was just a free flow from my heart. And I was feeling so insecure about it because it didn't look like anything I'd seen on Pinterest. It didn't look traditionally beautiful. And yeah, fun fact, yesterday morning, I woke up with this and I tried to remove it right away. I was like, panic, I don't like it. People are going to judge me for it. And the internet said toothpaste would remove it. And it did not work. But
it doesn't. Mehendi takes its time to go. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's just going to run its course. But my partner was like, he saw that I had put toothpaste all over my hand and he's like, what are you doing? It's fine. And regardless of if it looks, awful, I was thinking my hand looks like a disease or something, but he was like, no, it's beautiful. Like you put ohms in there, you put words that are meaningful.
And I
I
love
wrote,
the
may
little
you be
sun.
well. Yeah, little suns, like this says, I love you exactly as you are. Yeah, I love you exactly as you are. I am a hypocrite if I try to rub this all off and put toothpaste and not love it. So this has been my practice of realizing it's not what I'm used to seeing on my skin. I'm used to creating Mendi that looks different than this, but I can love it because this came so much from my heart. I wasn't copying a Pinterest design. This was what was flowing at that time. So love it and realize whether I love it or hate it, it's going to be gone in a week because it's really humid and I 3 times a day. So I loved this one. I was obsessed and clinging to it and it's going.
Yeah.
I felt negatively toward this one. And now I feel like I really like it and it's going to go no matter what. So
Yeah.
life's too short to care that much about this stuff.
This
So,
side of
yeah.
the hand usually fades away faster than this side, and the color is usually darker on this side.
True.
The other side.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was thinking, right now also, because when I'm at work and lots of kids are looking at my hands all the time, they will make more comments, and Mehendi's not normal in my culture anyway, so they're kind of interested. And this is a time where everyone here is wearing Mehendi. It doesn't matter. People are looking, it's humid. So, hey, in a couple of weeks, no matter how much I cling or have aversion to it, this won't be here. And yeah, life goes on. So anyway, that's random, but I was embarrassed that I tried to remove it, actually. I was like,
That's
what
so.
am I doing?
So one of the things that I've noticed since like I have full time started creating my art, and I've actually been more confident telling people, because for the longest time I was feeling uh I was feeling kind of embarrassed to tell people that, oh, I'm not a lawyer anymore. That's not true. I'll always be a lawyer, but that I'm not practicing law anymore and I'm pursuing art. Like when people would ask me at parties or something, oh, what do you do? I would just say, oh, I'm a lawyer. I won't say I'm an artist. And since the time I've started like owning it, and I've seen a change in people around me, like my friends and family, that they are including art in their own lives. Like I'll see them making a painting just as a way to, as a stress reliever, as a way to process things. And I think that has been very special. So the reason I'm bringing it up, like you were saying, it's important to create art just for the sake of creating art. And I think it's important for everyone to create art in some capacity. Like it doesn't have to be paint to paper. Like there are many ways of being creative, and it's very important to, as humans, to practice creativity because we are creative beings. Like inherently, that's
Yeah.
how we're made. So yeah, it's very important. Like even as artists, because we're doing it professionally, sometimes we forget that there needs to be an art practice which is just our own, separate from the one that we are selling. And yeah, it's very important to kind of have that for ourselves.
Yeah, agreed. The same for musicians or authors or anything that your job is based in passion, then make sure that there is some sacred time left for yourself to sit with that practice. I
Yeah.
imagine this is like for meditation teachers and for other things, like you have to make sure that you're still cultivating your own inner creativity, your own inner world for that. And that's going to come out in your art. It's not like you're wasting time not creating professionally. You are actually creating you're creating a richer inner place that your art's going to come from. So I totally agree with you, and I think that it's really inspiring to live your truth and not be ashamed or insecure about that. I totally relate. When I was a full-time artist in the community where I was living in Nepal, it's a lot of like open-minded travelers, and they would love that. And I felt so comfortable there. But then when I came back to the US, the message was more like, okay, so you did your vacation job, and now what are you really going to do? What are you going to actually, what's your career? Are you going to go back to school? Like, what's your serious life choice? And it was like very invalidating. And I think it's so important to remember to keep yourself, like keep kind of like a fence around your mind, protecting your garden, protect your mental garden, because otherwise a cow might come and eat your flowers, and then you end up feeling so discouraged and your passion is decreased, and that's so sad. It's so important for us to stay very confident and strong in what we're doing. And usually what happens is other people around us will catch up. They're not conditioned to think of art business as a serious life career, but it is. And you can make such an amazing life with that and thrive and create a lot of benefit in the world. So having a closed mind about what can be, you know, a real life adult career, that's a disservice to yourself and to others. It's really great to be creative about even your path, and creativity is a high expression of intelligence. I think
it is.
Hey, like, I mean, I love every animal so much. I don't see any animals that are quite as creative as humans, I think. And I feel like we have an amazing capacity for that. So we shouldn't just train ourselves to think creating is just for fun and free time, and it should be for fun and free time and anything else. Yeah.
Yes to that. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we wrap up this conversation?
I guess this kind of connects to why I ended up sharing my art in the first place, but really realize that there are so many ways to show up in the world that can be really, really beneficial for others. And creating and sharing what you create is one of the top ways, I think, of being a beneficial person. I think it's so important to remember that you are a really unique and amazing individual, and you have to kind of unlock this inner, it's hard to explain this. You have a light inside you that needs to be shared. It will help people. It will make your life and the lives of others better. So reduce your blockages around sharing your true self. Your passion is one of the most amazing things about you. So share it, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be art. It can be anything. And don't get discouraged by people's opinions. A lot of people are conditioned to not think that sharing your passion is okay or even worthwhile, but it really is. So share your passion with compassion for yourself and for others. And whether your art sells or not is not the thing that defines how successful or how talented or whatever you are as an artist. It's almost just, it's not related. Like whether you sell your art or not is not related to how valuable your art is in the world. So yeah, I think that's it.
I love that. So for everybody watching, you can find Roxi at her website, her work at www.mandalasofthepath.com. I will put it in the description wherever it is. And if our listeners want to connect with you, what's the best place that they should reach out to you?
Well, best usually email is always good. It's mandalas of the path, which is PATH path at gmail.com. I also have social media, but I haven't really been using it. I think social media has been an on and off feeling of benefit for me lately. So I do have Mandalas of the Path on Instagram and Facebook, but if anyone would like to connect more directly, email is a fantastic way. And I really encourage it because I was inspired to create by an artist I randomly found on Instagram. And if I can be of any help to you in your journey or inspire you in any way, I would love to do that. So yeah, feel free to reach out. And thank you so much for watching.
Yes.
You're really kind for even just giving time to hopefully plant some nuggets of wisdom, some seeds that can grow. Yeah.
Yeah, even I wanted to thank our listeners for tuning in. But before that, I want to thank you for giving your time, for agreeing to do this, and for sharing your heart. Like, you have this light about you, and I'm so glad that I can be the medium through which I can, like, more people can be in that light. So, thank you for coming and doing this.
Oh, thank you. I put on eyeliner. I don't want to cry right now, but thank you. You have been a source of so much light in my life too, and I'm so glad that you are sharing your art and your light outwardly, and I'm rooting for you 1,000%. And even if I'm off social media, I think email lists. Yeah, if anyone would like to sign up for email lists, I'm not sure if you have. Do you have one right now? I'm so out of touch with the world.
I do. It's on my website at Studio Artinject. People can sign up, but yeah, it's all.
Oh my God, I don't know if I'm signed up. I need to sign up today. I'm gonna do that. Okay. Anyway, sign up for our email lists. I also have one. It's on mandalasofthepath.com. And I think mandalasofthepath.com/contact is another way that you can contact me. So yeah, sign up for our email lists and stay connected, stay inspired, watch what other artists are doing, and realize there's so many ways that we can show up in the world to create and encourage others to create. So
Yes.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, until next time, keep dreaming big and beautiful dreams. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for choosing to spend your time and energy with us. If you enjoyed tuning in, would you be ever so kind and leave a comment if you're at the Studio Artinject blog or watching this on YouTube? And if you're joining from any of the podcast apps, do consider leaving a review. Your feedback will help us grow, and your encouragement will motivate us to continue creating valuable content. Also, I've created a great resource for creators that I think you'll find really valuable. A short audio series called Mindset Magic for Aligned Action, which introduces you to the concept of mindset and how you can use it to create magic in your life. I will leave the link to this resource along with all things discussed in today's episode in the description. Until next time, keep dreaming big and beautiful dreams. Signing off with love.